Welcome all students to the course of Data Communication Networking, BE 7th semester, Electronics and Communication Engineering. In the last session, we have discussed wireless wired LAN, a particular Ethernet topic, then IEEE standards, 802.3 MAC frame, and unicast and multicast addressing. In this session, we continue our discussion with our wired LAN, standard Ethernet, and changes in the standard. So first is a access method, just like our CSMA CD. We have already discussed CSMA CD in our previous session. So over here, different parameter can be considered. Our standard Ethernet uses a one resistance CSMA CD, as we have seen in our previous session. A slot time. In the Ethernet network, a round trip time requires for the frame to travel from one end to the maximum length network to the other, plus the time needed to send the jump sequence. It is called the slot time. Our equation can be formed as a slot time is equal to round trip time plus time required to send the jump sequence. Fine. So the slot time in the Ethernet is defined in bits. It is the time required for the station to send 512 bits. This means that an actual slot time depends on the data rate. For traditional 10 Mbps Ethernet, it is 51.2 microsecond. Now slot time and collision. The choice of 512 bit slot time was not an accidental. It was chosen to allow a proper functioning of CSMA CD. To understand the situation, let us consider the two cases. In the first case, we assume that the sender sends a minimum size packet of 512 bits. Before our sender can send the entire packet out, our signal travels through the network and reaches to the end of the network. If there is another signal at the end of the network, in a worst case, a collision occurs. The sender has an opportunity to avoid the sending of the frame and to send a jump sequence to inform other station of a collision. The round trip time plus the time required to send the jump sequence should be less than the time needed to send a sender with a minimum frame of 512 bits. The sender needs to be aware of a collision before it is too late, that is, before it has sent the entire frame. In another case, or a second case, our sender sends a frame larger than a minimum size between 512 and 1518 bits. In this case, if the station has sent out the first 512 bits and has not heard a collision, it is guaranteed that a collision will never occur during the transmission of a frame. The reason is that the signal will reach the end of the network in a less than a one half of the time slot. If all the stations allow the CSMA CD protocol, they have already sensed the existence of the signal or a carrier on the line and have refrained from the sending. If they send a signal on the line before a one half of the time slot expired, a collision has occurred and a sender has sensed the collision. In other words, a collision can only occur during the first half of the time slot, and if it does, it can be sensed by our sender during the slot time. This means that after the sender sends the first 512 bits, it is guaranteed that a collision will not occur during the transmission of this frame. The medium belongs to the sender and no other station will use it. So we can say that our sender needs to listen for a collision only during the time first 512 bits are sent. Of course, all these assumptions are invalid if a station does not follow the CSMS CD protocol. In this case, we do not have a collision, we have a corrupted station. So what is the slot time and maximum network length? The relationship between the slot time and the maximum length of the network in a collision domain, it is depend on the propagation speed of our signal in a particular medium. In most transmission media, our signal propagates at 2 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, or 2/3 of its rate of the propagation in air. For our traditional Ethernet, we can calculate that our maximum length is equal to a propagation speed into slot time by 2. Or we can say that our maximum length is 2 into 2 raised to 2 into 10 raised to 8 into 51 into 2 into 10 raised to minus 6 by 2 is equal to 5120 meter. Of course, we need to calculate or consider the delay in the time it repeats and interfaces, the time required to send a jump sequence. This reduces the maximum length of our traditional Ethernet network to 1500 meter, just 48% of our traditional theoretical calculation. So we can say that our maximum length is 2500 meter. Okay. Next is physical layer. Our standard Ethernet defines a several physical layer implementation. 4 of the most common are shown in our figure. So it is our standard Ethernet common implementation: 10 base 5, 10 base 2, 10 base T and 10 base F. Each can be used in our different protocol. Just like 10 base 5 is a bus and thick coaxial cable. Over here it is a bus topology and thin coaxial. Over here star topology there and untwisted pair. 10 base F is a star and a fiber. So what is the encoding and decoding procedure in our standard Ethernet? All the standards implementation use a digital signal measurement at 10 Mbps. At the sender, the data are converted to the digital signal using our Manchester scheme. At the receiver, the received signal is interpreted as a Manchester and decoded into the data. We have seen this in our previous chapter. Our Manchester encoding is a self-synchronous, providing a transition at each bit interval. Our figure shows the encoding scheme of our standard Ethernet. It is data, a Manchester encoder are there, then it is go to the twisted pair to our fibers. At the receiving, a Manchester decoder is there, then it can give a 10 Mbps data. Now first is 10 base 5 implementation or thick Ethernet. The first implementation called as our 10 base 5 or thick Ethernet or thicknet. The nickname derives from the size of the cable, which is roughly a size of our garden hose or too stiff to be bent in your hand. 10 base 5 was the first Ethernet specification to use a bus topology with an external transceivers or transreceivers. It is connected via a tape of the thick coaxial cable. Our figure shows the schematic diagram of our 10 base 5 implementation. Transceivers is responsible for transmitting, receiving and detecting collision. Our transceiver is connected to the station via a transceiver cable that provides a separate path for our sending and receiving. This means that a collision can only happen in a coaxial cable. Fine, collision will be over here. The maximum length of our coaxial cable must not exceed 500 meter. Otherwise, there is an excessive degradation of our signal. If a length is more than 500 meter is needed, up to 5 segments, each have a maximum of 500 meter, can be connected using a repeaters. Repeater will be discussed later. So right now you just understand a repeater is a device to regenerate our signal after some distance. So we can not lose the data if we use a repeaters. Fine. So it is our 10-base-5 implementation. Next is 10-base-2 implementation. So it is called as a thin Ethernet or cheaper net. 10-base-2 also uses a bus topology, as you can see, but the cable is much thinner or more flexible. As you can see, it can be bent also. In the previous case, it is not a flexible. Over here, a flexible cable is there. The cable can be bent to pass very close to the station. In this case, our transceivers is normally a part of the network interface card, which is installed inside our station. So over here, the no transceivers in our cable, it will install in our station. Our figure shows the static diagram of our 10-base-2 implementation. Note that the collision here occurs in a thin coaxial cable. This implementation is more cost effective than 10-base-5 because a thin coaxial cable is less expensive than a thick coaxial cable, and the T connection are much cheaper than taps. Over here is much cheaper than taps. Installation is simpler because the thin coaxial cable is very flexible. However, the length of each segment cannot exceed 185 meters or close to 200 meters due to the high level of attenuation in the coaxial cable. Fine. So there is also some positive and negative points of our 10-base-2 implementation. Next is 10-base-T or twisted pair Ethernet. 10-base-T uses a physical star topology. Over here, a main hub is there. The station are connected to a hub via a 2 pair of twisted pair cables, as you can see in our figure. Note that the 2 pairs of a twisted cable create a 2 paths, one for sending and another for receiving, between the station and a hub. Any collision here happens in the hub. Compared to the 10-base-5 and 10-base-2, we can see that the hub actually replaces the coaxial cable as far as a collision is concerned. The maximum length of our twisted pair cable here is defined 100 meter. It is used for minimize the effect of our attenuation in a twisted pair cable. So the maximum length is 100 meter. Okay, so last is 10-base-F implementation. Although there are several types of our optical fiber 10 Mbps Ethernet, the most common is called as an 10-base-F or fiber Ethernet. 10-base-F uses a star topology to connect a station to the hub. As you can see, it is a hub. The stations are connected to the hub using the 2 fiber optic cables, as you can see in this figure. Fine. So let's summarize each standard Ethernet implementation with the help of the table. Okay. So it is a summary of our standard Ethernet implementation. A characteristic shows different media length and encoding. Different implementation: 10 base 5, 10 base 2, 10 base T and 10 base F. If you remember this table, you can write any short note on a given implementation. Suppose 10 base 5 has an thick coaxial cable, where 10 base 2 uses a thin coaxial cable, where 10 base T uses 2 untwisted pair cable, and where the 10 base F uses 2 fiber cables. So what is the maximum length of each implementation? 10 base 5 has 500 meter, 10 base 2 has 185 meter, 10 base T has 100 meter, and 10 base F has 2000 meter. Means the maximum length covers over 10 base F. What is a line encoding use? Each implementation uses a Manchester encoding. Fine. So we completed the standard Ethernet topic. Next is changes in the standard. The 10 Mbps standard Ethernet has gone through several changes before moving to the higher data rates. These changes actually open the road to the evolution of an Ethernet to become compatible with other high data rate lengths. We discuss some of these changes in this section. A topic to be discussed over here is a bridge Ethernet, switch Ethernet and full duplex Ethernet. First is bridge Ethernet. The first step in the Ethernet evolution was the division of our LAN by bridges. Bridges have two effects on the Ethernet LAN. They raise the bandwidth and they separate the collision domains. Fine. We will study a particular bridge fundamental in a separate session. So one motto to use a bridge Ethernet is sharing bandwidth or raising the bandwidth. In unbridged Ethernet network, the total capacity 10 Mbps is shared among all the stations with a frame to send. The stations share the bandwidth of a network. If only one station has frame to send, it benefits from the total capacity of 10 Mbps. But if more than one station needs to use the network, the capacity is shared. For example, if the two stations have a lot of frames to send, they probably alternate in usage. When one station is sending, the other refrains from the sending. We can say that in this case, each station on an average sends at the rate of 5 Mbps, as you can see in our figure. The situation explains that average is 5 Mbps, means two stations are there. So when one station sending, another is not sending the frame. Fine. So over here the gap is there. In the first station it will send into this gap. When remaining, means a particular gap is there, at that time another station send the frame. Fine. The bridge, as we will learn in the future chapters, will help here. A bridge divides the work into the two or more networks. Bandwidth wise, each network is independent. For example, our figure, a network with our 12 stations are divided into the two networks each with our 6 stations. Now each station has a capacity of 10 Mbps. The 10 Mbps capacity in each segment is now shared between the 6 stations. Actually 7, because a bridge acts as a station in each segment. Over here, not the 12 station. In each segment it have 6 to 7. In a network with a heavy load, each station theoretically offered 10 by 6 Mbps instead of 10 by 12 Mbps. Means it will divided into 6 parts, not divided into 12 parts in the previous case without bridging. Over here we are assuming that the traffic is not going through the bridge. Fine. It is obvious that if we further divide the network, we can gain more bandwidth for each segment. For example, if we use a 4-port bridge, each station is now offered 10 by 3 Mbps, which means that the 4 times more than an unbridged network. Fine. So bridge will be used to increase our channel occupancy. Now, separating collision domains. So another advantage of our bridge is a separation of a collision domain. Our figure shows the collision domain for an unbridged network and bridged network. You can see that the collision domain becomes much smaller and the probability of the collision is reduced tremendously. Without bridging, 12 stations contain for an excess of a medium. With a bridging, only 3 stations are contained for the excess of the medium. Okay, so there is less collision occur in our bridge network. Second is a switched Ethernet. The idea of a bridge LAN can be extended to a switched LAN. Instead of having 2 to 4 networks, why not have an N networks, where N is the number of stations on the LAN. In other words, if we can have a multiple port bridge, why not have an N port switch? In this way, the bandwidth is shared only between the station and the switch, just like on 5 Mbps each. In addition, a collision domain also divided into the N domains. Fine. So it is our switched Ethernet. A layer 2 switch in an N port bridge with an additional sophistication that allows a faster handling of packets. Evaluation from the bridge Ethernet to the switch Ethernet was a big step that opened the way to the even faster Ethernet we will see in future. Fine. So our figure shows our switched LAN. Next is full duplex switched Ethernet. One of the limitation of 10 base 5 and 10 base 2 is that the communication is a half duplex. Means a 10 base T is always a full duplex. A station can either send or receive, but may not do both at the same time. The next step is the evaluation was to move from switched Ethernet to the full duplex switched Ethernet. The full duplex mode increase the capacity of each domain from 10 to 20 Mbps. Our figure shows a switched Ethernet with a full duplex mode. Note that instead of using a one link between the station and the switch, the configuration uses the 2 links. One is to transmit and another is to receive. Okay, means full duplex. So both sender and receiver can send the data and receive the data at the same time. Over here, no need for CSMA CD. In our full duplex switched Ethernet, there is no need for CSMA CD method. In our full duplex switched Ethernet, each station is connected to the switch via the 2 separate links. Each station or a switch can send and receive independently without worrying about a collision. Each link is a point-to-point dedicated path between the station and the switch. There is no longer a need for a carrier sensing. There is no longer need of a collision detection. the job of a MAC layer becomes much easier. The carrier sensing and the carrier detection functionalities of a MAC sublayer can be turned off over here. So what is a MAC control layer? The standard Ethernet was designed as the connectionless protocol at our MAC sublayer. There is no explicit flow control or the error control to inform the sender that the frame has arrived at a destination without an error. When the receiver receives the frame, it does not send any positive or the negative acknowledgement. To provide for a flow and the error control in a full duplex switched Ethernet, a new sublayer called as an MAC control is added between the LLC sublayer and MAC sublayer. Okay, so we conclude our session over here. Let's revise our discussion. First, we have introduced a slot time, which is round trip time plus time required to send the jump sequence. Then we have discussed the maximum length of our distance will be 5120 and the maximum length will be equal to the 48% is equal to 2500 meters for our cable. Then we have classified our physical layer, the standard Ethernet, with a common implementation 10 base 5, 10 base 2, 10 base T and 10 base F. We have defined and Manchester encoding and decoding at our station. Each implementation we have discussed. Then we have compared the different characteristics within media, maximum length and encoding. After that, what are the changes in our standard we discuss? Means we have discussed the research work in our standard Ethernet and result with our bridge, switched and full duplex Ethernet each one. Fine. So it is a using of a bridge, a collision domain, and which will reduce by a bridge, switched Ethernet which have n domains, and lastly a full duplex switch. Means each have a two lines or two cables, one for transmit and another for receiving. Okay, so these are the question to you. Write them in your notebook and send back it to me as per the given direction. Comment if any query. Thank you students. See you in the next session.